Good morning and welcome to the Board of Assessors meeting of Thursday, March 13th, 2025. My name is John Bullion and I am the Chair of the Board of Assessors. In accordance with the open meeting law, at the beginning of the meeting, I must disclose to attendees when the meeting is being recorded. This meeting is being broadcast via Zoom and is being recorded for publication, later viewing, and administrative purposes. Also, after notifying the chair, any person may make a video or audio recording of the meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium, subject to reasonable requirements of the chair as to the plate number, placement, and operation of equipment used, so as not to interfere with the conduct of the meeting. Please let me know now so that I can make that announcement as well. Thank you. There is nobody in attendance that has requested.
Nobody online.
And there's nobody online. So that is your announcement and public comment. We have no taxpayer appointments and Mike Knight, do you want to just bring up, discuss under board discussions, anything?
Sure.
Okay.
It was brought to my attention by somebody that had filed an abatement. Apparently it was last week or something. And they had received a notice and they were pleased that their tax went down. But it also said you have 90 days to protest it to the ATB. But there was no information on the letter stating what the new valuation was. And so they don't even know what to protest. And there was no instructions, because you can't look it up online because we're currently doing 2025, but it will show up in 2026. So I'm wondering if we could add to that abatement, how they would see the new number, whether it's calling the office, because they can't look it up online, so they don't know if they can protest it.
Well, I think that, I think reasonably, what I think they should have with them is they should have it on the letter or an attachment saying, this is what the original valuation was. This is your new valuation. This is what your original, your prior, your tax amount, what the tax amount was, and this is your new tax amount. I think that would give the information, that, would be.
Right.
Instead of calling the office. If you have the information, they should have the information. I mean,
But they're also
reasonable.
If for some reason we come to the conclusion they should call the office, it should say that. There should be some instruction.
Yeah, but I think putting down information is number one.
I think that's the best.
And number two, it will cut down the amount of calls that are going to the office. Not that we would ever ask people not to call the office, but if we more information. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, the situation is what, it's a state form,
It
it's a
is,
state
Yeah,
form,
it
and it just has the place for the tax. Do we send any cover letter on top of that?
We do not.
typically?
Can we send a letter?
absolutely.
Or if there's if there's a single page like we have on the abatement form, I don't know if that's.
Can we add to the state required letter or if not, then I would say. no.
Well,
I don't know the answer to that.
When we
I don't-
sign stuff, we do have this, this thing that
Right.
says what the
Right,
assessed value, abated value, adjusted. I mean, a simple way, it's not the prettiest, but would just be to include a copy of this page along with it.
Mhm.
I don't know, what would be,
what would be the
what would be
easiest
convenient for you?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
All right,
Let me ask you, well, we can take this offline because I have an idea. So,
okay. I just think, yeah, I agree with you though, just something that says it, because people are thinking in term, and people are confused enough.
Yeah.
As it is, we see online about the difference between change in assessment and change in tax.
right,
So, and if someone knows they asked for 200,000. And then they get some reduction, they don't know if we said 50 or 200.
Right.
So I agree.
Dave?
Just clarification, if the value change, tax will change. In the story, the tax can't change unless there's a change in the value.
Right.
Right.
So, that's clear. And the individual was inquiring, they're inquiring because they received a certificate in the mail stating that
Mhm.
their real estate tax was reduced.
Yes,
And at first, if they are going to file an appeal with the ATV. The ATV is still gonna be focused on what the original value, all the information on the original application. They would have that information to file an appeal to the ATV.
but they don't have all the facts.
Yeah.
Well, the facts are the facts that they believe to be true.
No, I think the issue is this, that is, you file an abatement and you say this should be $200,000 less. The valuation should be $200,000 less. You get a letter that says your taxes are down $500. You don't you have to go through a bunch of math to figure out.
You can't
Did I
even
get,
do the
did I
math.
get the
Well,
200,000?
you can do
Well, you could, but
Yeah.
you have to know what you're doing,
Yeah,
but
right,
did I get the 200,000 and that?
Right, right.
Is the
Yeah.
500 because I got 200,000 off, or did I
Right.
get $75,000 off? Cause if it's 75, maybe I wanna file an appeal,
Right.
and if it's 200, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I got what I wanted.
Joe Blow, even if he was a math wizard, if he doesn't have the data or know where to get it, like the mill rate, a couple of other things. He or she, it's just very, very difficult.
Yeah.
To come to the conclusion.
well, okay, let's, I mean, I think we wanna do something, I think, why don't we, come up with,
We can certainly provide it. Understand that's just more work that needs to be done by the same number of staff. And the
Yeah.
town's not in the business of hiring more positions.
Right.
Particularly where people are trying to cut their taxes, which means we have to cut
Yeah,
staff in order to live within the reduced tax levy.
Right.
So there are facts. The form is what the state says is supposed to be distributed.
right.
Yeah.
And and we can certainly send additional information, but it's just gonna require that much more time. So people are impatient as it is now in terms of the time to get them the information.
Yeah.
well, let's
At
ask.
a very high level, I'm sure there's a report that could be output with that information, name and address, all that stuff. Simple mail merge to take that information, lay it out in a separate sheet of paper that is nested in with that.
Again, no, there isn't, because the camera system is not connected to the receivable system. They're different
It
databases,
won't output a
not, simple.
report?
No.
Yeah.
No. Well, it's not designed for that.
Wow.
Well, say, if you wanted to talk to Nancy about it,
Yeah.
come up with one, maybe just come up with really all it
Something
is,
simple, yeah.
all it is it's basically just one number. So is
It's
what.
3 numbers.
It's
or-
three
or-
numbers,
okay,
right.
3 numbers,
Right,
Yeah.
but
right.
whatever would be most convenient. way
Nancy,
to
how
do it.
often do you get it, when we send out the letter saying you've received an abatement, you know, how often do you get a call on those saying, hey, can you just go over with me what that meant?
We haven't gotten any calls,
Okay,
but we've only sent out like
right, couple dozen or so, right,
16 or
For
so
like
Yeah.
last year.
for approvals.
yeah.
Last year,
I mean, would you
oh,
normally?
no, we only approved like 10
Okay.
applications last year.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
I mean, the staff talked about this 2 weeks ago.
okay.
If they get this letter, you know, this is where to look for their new value.
Mhm.
So everybody's versed on how to answer their questions.
Okay, okay.
So,
Mm.
yeah, no, I mean, if it were me, I'd wanna see my new value
Right,
in the literature.
Exactly.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah, and, you know, again, we understand that, that there's staff time involved, but, I think one of the complaints about government at times is that we're not as transparent as we should be. And I think that this is not an unreasonable piece of the information that we send to people when we communicate with them.
Yeah.
That's all.
well, I don't know if it's a
And,
transparency issue, but this year, obviously, it's gonna be a little bit more than it would be in other years,
Right.
but. In most years, this is gonna be a fairly small, addition.
I'd
And
rather-
it's just about putting another piece of paper in
Right.
an envelope you're sending.
I'd rather go on the basis that we're trying to make people a little happier
Yeah,
in the scope
Yeah.
of life.
If this were
in the
a private
current
business.
Dynamic.
They would fix that, because
Right.
customer service wouldn't put up with it.
maybe.
We can do that. I can say from the private industry, they give you less information.
I was
Let's
gonna-
just talk about
I
Eversource
was
and the
gonna say.
natural gas bills.
Yeah.
I hate them. I got my gas bill, my electric and gas bill yesterday, and it's like,
Yeah.
so high.
Or your homeowner's insurance policy amendments, or
I was
your
gonna say-
automobile insurance
I was gonna say
amendments,
the
or your
cable
cable
company.
bill amendments.
Oh, you want to talk about auto insurance? Okay.
Well, anyway,
Yes,
let's move on.
One other thing in public business, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
the local acceptance on the affordable housing. The affordable housing exemption. We may not be going forward, since I first presented to the board. The concept of adopting that as well as getting on to the warrant, for the, special town meeting. In my research, one found that no other community has adopted to date. Second, there is one other community considering it, and I had spoken with them, and there's some defects. The intent is good, but unfortunately, some of the things is one of the issues I was looking at is to deal with some unique, single family properties in town that are at issue. And apparently they would not qualify under this, statute. It's only for multi-families only.
Okay.
Second, the reason that I was looking at this is based upon the changes in value that happened through the reassessment. That some landlords had mentioned that that the rents that they're doing are at an affordable level, but because it's not recognized under a government program, they get no benefit of that. And the statute looked as though that would benefit them. However, and I'm seeking clarification from Division of Local Services, which I should have by next week. It's all or nothing, meaning that the 40B projects, which the assessments are already taken into account that they're getting less rent, would also get the extra exemption if the town were to approve this. So basically, the wealthiest entities would get a double tax break, whereas the smaller property owners would get a much smaller. So I'm seeking a few clarifications relative to that. The last part of it, which could be very problematic, is for the individuals to apply. They actually have to collect the 1040 forms of their tenants. And I don't know how many tenants want to turn over their income tax information to their landlord,
Yeah.
so their landlord can file for an exemption.
All right.
So that's another complication. I think those can be corrected at the state level to update the law. But as a result, if I find that there is no administrative ability to correct this, we would probably withdraw the article and wait for the state to amend it. So I just want to bring this to the board's attention.
Thank you. Any other open session business? Otherwise, we'll move into executive session. Hearing none, we'll request a motion to comply with provisions of any general or special law, specifically discuss real estate and personal property exemption and or abatement applications which are not open to public inspection, to comply with the provisions of any general or special law, specifically to discuss returns of property held for charitable purposes which are not open to public inspection, or to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's litigating position. We will return from an executive session to announce the results of any votes taken on any exemption or abatement applications that were decided during the executive session. Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mike?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.